There is bombshell news coming out of the Capitol that a growing cohort of Republicans are set to resign before the term is out, a development which some analysts predict could prematurely hand the majority to the Democrats. This is the headline they want you to focus on, the Great MAGA Implosion. But look closer, we are witnessing something far more significant than a mere political defeat. We are watching a calculated institutional failure. I don't care who you voted for, Democrat, Republican, or for the alien contingency. The fundamental issue remains: the system is broken. It is not working. And this mass defection is not a sign of virtue. It is the absolute proof. We're being told this is a victory for the opposition, a blue tsunami sweeping in. But let's be pragmatic. Let's look at the data, not the emotions. We are receiving yet another bombshell report. How many bombshells have we had since this administration took office? Thousands. And yet the core problems persist. We must ask, why are these bombshells not translating into genuine accountability? This is not courage. This is institutionalized cowardice. The politicians in question are not running toward integrity. They are running away from responsibility. They are executing an emergency exit from a broken vehicle they helped steer into the ditch. The most pressing question that must be asked is not whether they are leaving, but why they are leaving this way. If you genuinely believe that the speaker is a coward, or that the former president is a threat to the nation, as their leaks clearly suggest, then why are you not voting for impeachment or invoking the 25th Amendment? Resignation is not a solution. It is an admission. That is the cowardice protocol in action. Let's dissect the core failure. The commentary has brilliantly highlighted the simplest truth. Bottom line, what has the GOP done to make life better? Answer, nothing. These resignations are not acts of contrition for moral failures. They are acts of abandonment, deserting a sinking ship after a term of zero output governance. They failed to manage. They failed to govern. They failed to stand up to the extreme fringe of their base. And now they are failing to face their constituents. These are not ideological warriors. They are elite mercenaries. The defection is rooted in two fundamental calculations: fear of primary challenge. To stand against the populist MAGA base is to guarantee a costly, dirty primary fight that most career politicians are now structurally afraid of losing. Profit motive, the revolving door, they are seeking the next phase of their career, a lucrative lobbying or private sector gig. Their market value is significantly higher if they exit with the narrative that they were the principled ones who tried to govern rather than being voted out as a powerless failure. The wow, we can resign mentality is a perfect summation of this calculated, self-serving move. We should not applaud this flight. We should condemn this profound lack of courage and the systemic incentives that reward it. They are not heroes. They are simply the rats jumping the sinking ship. This leads us to the deeper, more disturbing truth that explains why they can't simply denounce the Republican Party and join the opposition, as the public suggests. Instead of retiring, couldn't they denounce the Republican Party and just change to blue? They can't, because their primary loyalty isn't to an ideology. It is to the money network and the legal mechanisms that feed it. We need to look at the numbers. Consider the documented cases. Into this, an individual enters Congress reporting a net worth of $70,000 and shortly after is documented to be leaving with $25,000. This is not the result of diligent legislative work or deep study of the Constitution. This is the product of legalized corruption. The American political system is not merely flawed, it is purpose-built to reward corruption. Lobbying is legalized bribery. Campaign finance is the legalized purchase of influence. This Washington, D.C. apparatus, the so-called wicked snow globe, is defined by rules that allow capital to be converted into political power seamlessly and legally. How can you effectively fight authoritarianism when the corruption that enables it is codified in law? The economic commentary reinforces this systemic viewpoint. Yes, we can point fingers at the current administration for tanking the economy in record time. But that economy was already structurally compromised. Either the speed of the collapse merely exposed the underlying fracture, a political economic system designed to enrich a handful of large tech companies and elite donors, while neglecting the basic needs of the other 99%. When the rank and file members complain about being treated like garbage by the White House, they are not complaining about rudeness. They are complaining that their value in the influence market, their ability to deliver small wins or grants, has been diminished by the extreme concentration of power. They are fighting for their slice of a decaying, corrupt pie. The real mega implosion is not about a person. It is the ultimate failure of a governance model that prioritizes self-enrichment over national stability. The natural counter-narrative to the MAGA defection is the idea of a blue tsunami, a definitive, overwhelming victory for the Democratic Party. Let's engage that prospect rationally. So what? As the analysis correctly notes, we are focused too much on winning elections and not enough on fixing the foundational structure. If the Democrats secure a majority and then simply return to the previous state of institutionalized corruption and the abhorrent biased media landscape, we will merely be setting the stage for the next, more extreme populist reaction. The essential question must be directed at the winners. Can the Democrats get a backbone and hold people accountable? Or will they too be paralyzed by fear of upsetting the donor class and the entrenched bureaucracy? We are also facing a critical strategic error in evaluating the MAGA base itself. They are not going to simply evaporate. Sure, all these MAGA supporters might turn on Trump, but what are they turning to instead? Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. If you do not offer a compelling, pragmatic, and moral vision, a tangible alternative that addresses the economic insecurity and the feeling of political powerlessness, they will simply gravitate toward the next charismatic authoritarian who promises to burn down the corrupt system, regardless of whether that system is replaced by something better or worse. Rick Wilson's warning. Ex-GOP analyst issues dire warning about Trump after midterm. He is planning a siege. Trump is already aiming the federal machine at the midterms. You think a lame duck can't cause chaos? You didn't learn the lesson of 2020, Wilson wrote. The lame duck period then gave Trump and his allies space to organize a coup attempt. Now imagine that same playbook with 4 years of institutional capture, a more radical staff, and a president who knows he can't be reelected and doesn't care who he burns. Watch what happens in red state legislatures and courts when Trump calls on them to throw out the election results, or when Mike Johnson declines to seat newly elected members. We agree with Rick Wilson that the lame duck period will be used to plan a siege. But again, why does our constitutional and legal framework allow one person to pose such an existential threat? The failure is in the guards, the rules, and the structure itself. We must embrace the notion of a radical systemic re-architecture. We need more than just new laws. We need a revolution in governance. Mandatory term limits and anti-corruption sever the financial incentive for political longevity. We need to legally eliminate the lobbying revolving door. Revolutionary personnel change. As the most radical analysis suggests, we may need to literally get rid of 75% of all serving politicians. This is not about party affiliation. It is about competency, integrity, and willingness to serve the public, not the self. The focus must shift from simply denying power to MAGA to empowering the American people with a government that is transparent, functional, and fireable. Rick Wilson's warning. Ex-GOP analyst issues dire warning about Trump after midterm. He is planning a siege. The MAGA defection is not a cause for celebration. It is a clinical diagnosis. It is proof that the political class is primarily motivated by self-preservation and fear, not principle. Let's abandon the political gossip. We must cease being distracted by trivialities like the former First Lady and the Christmas tree, or whether the former president can barely even walk. Those are distractions for the masses. The critical engineering question remains, is America solvent? Is the economic and political structure fundamentally sound? If you want to defeat authoritarianism, you must do more than win an election cycle. You must re-engineer the foundation. We need people willing to stand up and fight, not people ready to retire and cash in their political chips. The Swedish socialist commentator, despite the irony, has highlighted the core truth. We need systemic measures that will feel like a revolution to many. The bottom line is simple. The foundation is cracked, and painting over the walls is a catastrophic waste of time. We need a thought revolution, a shift from obsessing over individuals to solving systemic faults. Stop playing the small, emotional game of politics. Start thinking like an engineer. The system is failing. Act now. Like, subscribe, and share this video if you agree that the time for small politics is over and the time for radical systemic change has arrived.